All right, we're live.
We're live?
You don't ever want to start this
I
off,
know.
do you?
I'm happy to start it off.
Okay, you go ahead. I'm trying to get my
So,
stuff together. All right.
so happy School Choice Week.
Jesus.
Aren't you excited about that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Lindsay Beckham,
And I'm Sean Yurtkaran.
and we're so excited for School Choice Week. I'm sorry, we're not. That's not what we're talking. I know
We're
we
not
talk
talking.
about
We've
that
talked about that
every single
every
time we get on
episode. We are
here.
not. We're having a school choice free Monday night for once. So
Yes, but it is School Choice Week.
okay, that's
So
great. I mean, everybody gets their own week, don't they? It's like there's Nurses Week. There's which they should, and there should be Police Week. I mean, is there like Groundhog Week? There's Groundhog Day.
well, no, but there's the mentally ill month
I
we
mean,
have over in June.
that's like every month for you,
That's good.
That's
Good. I walked myself right on
yeah,
into that
right,
one, didn't
that's
I?
it. Yeah. So, anyway, everybody gets their
Says
own.
the man who has more toys than my kids.
Yes, I have. I displayed it on Legal Ad tonight. I have quite a vast collection of antique Star Wars toys from the late 1970s, and I will keep on collecting them forever. I don't care if everybody thinks I'm a geek or whatever, because I am one, and I'm pretty happy about it. So, but when people come to my office, they love looking at this stuff, and it's a conversation starter. So, whatever.
What a great conversation!
It is.
That
It's
must
like, where did
be.
you like? Most of the conversations start off like, "Whoa, dude, you must be a total dork. Like, what the hell is this shit?" But the guys always like it. They're always cool. Like, you
Of
meet some
course
guy
they
in their
do.
mid-40s. Fred Shanks came over to my office one day and was
Well,
playing
okay, I mean,
playing with the Millennium Falcon.
well,
Like, he
I'm
was
not
playing
surprised. That's,
with it.
that's not a good example.
He was literally like, he even took a picture and sent it to his brother. Like, like
I'm sure he did.
He did.
I'm
He
sure
did. He was
he
very
did.
excited. So
Yeah, I mean, just wait till I finish this Lego 5 million piece ship.
yeah, the ship is the Millennium Falcon for everybody who's listening, and Lindsay didn't. She's working on it right now. I'm not. I had a Lego set for a couple of years that I'm not gonna. I'll buy the toy, but I'm not putting together a Lego.
So I end up putting it together.
Yeah,
And I
much.
mean, I'm here to tell you those things are not for kids.
Yeah, that's it.
There's
It looks complicated.
No way a kid could put that together unless they are just really talented.
Yeah, it looks pretty complicated. So anyway,
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I can't wait till you're done. Hopefully by this, but you better get to it. Better get to it.
Oh Lord.
So hopefully I'll have more Star Wars stuff, and I'll take some more pictures, and everybody can look at that. And
Women, get your men some toys, some Star Wars.
Yeah.
toys.
Might as well, it's a fun hobby. I started doing it during the pandemic actually, because you're inside, so people were fighting on. You'd have like grown men fighting on eBay over like, oh my god, you have a Luke Skywalker farm boy, and like it could go up to like $300, and it was this. Maybe people in this country do have too much money and time, because we are the most blessed country in the world when grown men are fighting over antique toys from the 1970s. So
Third world problems. First world.
Yes,
problems.
first world. Yeah, it's first world. So, anyway, well, the first story tonight we're talking about is this Nissan murder that everybody has heard about, where a man, I believe, came from out of state and was dating a woman, or was a boyfriend previously, and I don't think they were dating anymore, and kidnapped her from the Nissan plant in Canton and drove her to all the way to Holmes County, I believe it was, where she had jumped out of the car, as far as I know. I think that's what they're reporting. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I saw. And what's even scarier is what was going through her mind. How scared could she have been to think that jumping out on the interstate was a better option for her than remaining in the car with this man who evidently has I guess maybe been harassing her. I guess they knew somehow that this is an ex-boyfriend who had kidnapped her.
I imagine he was harassing her. I'm going to guess
Yeah.
he was definitely harassing her.
Was she an employee at Nissan? Is
Yeah,
that what it was?
I believe that's right.
Very, very sad situation, and too close to home, in my opinion. So Sean, have you ever prosecuted anything like that? That it's like a kidnapping turns murder, and
Sure, several.
one place end up in another county.
Yeah, and the way that kind of works is like, where are you going to prosecute it? Now, if everybody here remembers, about 7-8 years ago, there was a little boy named Kingston Frazier that was kidnapped
Right,
out of
in the Kroger. That was the Kroger parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was actually, the crime started in Hinds County of the Kroger off 55, but he was prosecuted eventually in Madison County, and because that's where he was killed. Now, the crime could have been prosecuted in Hinds County because the law says wherever the crime starts, wherever it ends, is appropriate for the prosecution to commence. So it could have been at the time Robert Smith was the DA. So I'm glad that Michael Guest handled that one.
Yeah,
because
not
it was
Robert.
pretty big. Yeah. So it worked out well. In this case, I think the Madison County DA's office will probably end up prosecuting it. Hopefully, they've got a really good office up there, and I'm sure they've got a lot of very experienced lawyers, and I'm sure they would handle it. But it did end. I think her death happened in Holmes County, even though she was kidnapped here in Madison County, or Madison County. We're in Hinds County, but Madison County.
And he's from a different state. Did you say that?
I think he's from here originally, but he had come here from, I'm not sure what state it is though, but yeah, he'd come and he came to to confront her. Obviously, I mean, it was it's a tired tale. It's a domestic relationship, gone bad, obviously. And I say this a lot, and I've said this for years, that when you're looking at homicides, most of your homicides either come from a domestic relationship, like a drug deal gone bad, or some money situation. It's a small percentage where it's just some random psychopath that kills you. That's like I've actually prosecuted a guy that's a random psychopath that killed an elderly woman years ago. That was like one of the few cases I ever saw in the hundreds upon hundreds of homicide cases that I've handled that happened. That's not a common thing. It's usually
someone like 90% of the time. It's someone that you have
it's someone
grudge against.
I mean, it's always someone I mean, you could have a situation like I've had when you're an innocent bystander and maybe you get armed robbed and you get killed during armed robbery. That happens. It's I wouldn't say it's not nearly as common as if it's somebody or it's some sort of like illegal, I don't know if I'm going to call it gang activity, but like drug activity. A lot of times drug deal gone bad, money situations, those, somebody gets dissed on the street. They all kind of know each other. Everybody knows each other. Those kind of things result in murder.
Or a romantic relationship.
Romantic relationships, I would say I'm going to go with those are number one. I like to look at the statistics on that, but just based on my personal life experience handling this stuff, they probably are. There's a lot of it. It's kind of 50-50 with like illegal, people like sit in gangs or selling drugs and that kind of life. They're out there and they kill each other, and that's just very common. Somebody gets killed in a drive-by, it's retaliation for something that involves
majority of probably like the Hinds County Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, it involves some kind of illegal activity, some beef, some street beef, or whatever you want to call it. But a big chunk of this is people that people that you dated, some family relationship.
I recently saw in Rankin County out in Brandon a couple, a murder suicide, where they were in the process, I guess, of a divorce, and
yes, that's right.
Young, beautiful girl. I think she was in medical school.
Yeah, that's right.
Lots of dreams and aspirations for her life, and all of a sudden, they're both gone, and no one, I think, in that case even suspected it.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a pretty amicable relationship. Nobody knew. You never know what goes on behind closed doors, though.
Right. But how many times would you say when you've seen it become a domestic situation that turns deadly, is it not the first time that there has been some sort of violence?
I've never seen it when it's been the first time. I've never ever seen it. The case that I'm on, the Hulu documentary, is a great example of that. There was plenty of documented incidents of Stanley Cole abusing Latasha Norman. One happened about 2 weeks before the murder, actually, over in the Ruby Tuesdays parking lot in Pearl, that had been reported. He actually, when he was arrested for her murder, it was his court date in Pearl for the domestic violence he was charged with previous to the murder. So, it's usually, if you're in a relationship and there's domestic violence, it's gonna go bad. Like, at least that's my experience. It's never gonna just get better. Like, anybody that thinks that is just, you're wrong. And take it from me, I've dealt with hundreds of people that were victims, or the ones that are victims are dead. I've dealt with a lot that are living. Thank God they were alive still. But the main thing is that, like, it doesn't just stop. It never just, like, the guy doesn't go, oh, you know what? Guess what? I'm just not an abuser anymore. That never happens. It ends one of two ways. The woman dies, and I'm using women here because 99% of the time it's women that get abused.
Right.
And sure, there's that 1% where the guy got abused, but we don't see it that much. I've never seen it, at least. Right. So one of two ways: it either results in the woman's death, or she somehow luckily gets out of the relationship.
Well, it sounds like, even in these two cases, it sounds like these women were attempting to get out of these relationships.
Right.
This was an ex-boyfriend. I know the murder suicide. They were going through a divorce, and this still, their lives were taken. And sometimes I think a lot of women feel like they can't leave because they will be killed if they attempt to leave or get away. And then I think there are a lot of women who think every time the next day when it's, I'm so sorry, this will never happen
Yeah.
again. And they believe them. They feel like this is who they love, and they don't want to leave them, or leave their children, or leave the family, or be embarrassed by it all. I think it's just a very tough situation for women to be in.
Yeah, that is always the pattern. It always is, like, the guy is really super abusive, and then he tells the woman, after that, like, how much he loves him. He goes over and above and beyond, does all this, like, over and above him. I mean, I can play these
Flowers the
out
next
for you,
day.
like, as many times as I've dealt with it. So much so, and I told you the story in the past, where one lady came into my office one time years ago, and she had, like, bandages all over her arms, and her boyfriend had set her on fire. And she came to my office and she said, "Can you dismiss the charges against him?" And she's with the bandages in her
But
office.
because it's not the women anymore that have the charges, right?
No,
It's
the
the
state
state.
does.
The state picks
Does,
up those
yeah.
charges, so the women can't just
Mhm.
call up there and drop the charges.
No.
The
No.
state, the prosecutor and the state have to drop
Yeah.
the charges, and so I'm sure that's when the women start coming to you guys as prosecutors
Sure.
and saying, "Hey, can you please drop these charges?" But I mean, so Sean, how do we fix that? What can we do to
Well,
change the way our system works?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of the criminal justice system, we're doing the best we can in terms of the way the state has the charges, and that it's not, the victim can't just go and say, "Hey, I want to drop the charges," and it goes away. I know when I was a prosecutor, I wouldn't just do that. I did fully investigate as much as I could, and I was pretty hard on domestic abusers. I was very hard on that. Because I'd seen the end result so many times of what happened. I've seen so many dead women over the years about it, so take it pretty seriously. So that, from that aspect, it's hard to make it much better in terms of, now I think what you could do is maybe to stiffen the law, is to say, like, come up with some, like, lifetime or decade long no contact between the two, because a lot of times they'll get convicted and they get back together. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that relationship never fosters again. So if there's maybe something we could do in the law to make that harder for them to get back together, I think we could do that.
A lot of times, I guess they do put the no contact orders in place, but maybe only for a limited
specified
amount
period of time, right?
Very...
Yeah, and then go back, or if it's a misdemeanor and there's like a 6 months probationary period, then whatever.
I guess a more permanent no contact would be a lot harder to do in a marriage where there's children.
Yeah, sure, it would be, obviously, but I mean, I think, just anybody out there, like, if you're in a marriage and your husband is beating the shit out of you, it's time to get a divorce. I mean, that's not, there's no going back from that. Like, it's not going to get any better. And it's not, and then it's going to eventually, I don't know, go to the children, or that could happen, but it's not going to reform. Like, the guy that's beating you up is not going to reform. Like, that is not going to happen. So, you need to, get out and get a divorce in that situation. That's about the only thing you can do. I mean, I guess you could say, "I love him, I want him to go to treatment," and maybe you could stick it out. I think that would be pretty, in my experience, pretty dangerous decision, considering I don't know how easily that works,
Well, I mean, we saw, even here locally, we saw a very successful businessman who,
Todd Martis,
who I mean, and beat the crap out of her. I think she had a lacerated liver. I mean, I think she was pretty much dying when they got her medical help, and yet she still showed up to testify for him in court and say, I love him, I need him, I want him to come back home.
Yeah, he had a lot of money, right? So, they probably, she was, apparently what I've heard, she was not very helpful to the state, in based upon her.
I mean, they actually were one who were arrested for violating the no contact order during that time span. I think they were both maybe.
Yeah, I believe that was part of it. I think what we could do, as a community or society, maybe, is just, like, make this more open. Because I think people that are domestically abused are ashamed of it. And they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. I think if we could, like, foster some way. I know we have tons of violent, women shelters and these kinds of programs. So to make, put more money into this, I think to have more programs where the community gets involved. There's other avenues for it, that it's okay for you to let somebody know, make it known that's okay, that, to let somebody know that this is going on. And I think we might be able to curb some of these murders in the future if we really but we don't. I feel like we don't put an emphasis on it.
Well, and I'll tell you what else we don't do, and this is people who have left relationships and they're still being stalked or terrorized or threatened, and you call law enforcement and you're not taken seriously.
Yeah,
and this happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people who have even said, "This person is going to kill me. I need someone to make sure this doesn't happen. And it's not taken unless you have proof that they've beat the crap out of you.
Right.
They don't take you seriously.
Yeah. I know we've got, especially, cyber stalking laws and those kinds of things. But I think you're right though. If it gets handled on a lower level, because I mean, if you've got somebody, let's say some guy stalking you, and just on a base level, like he's mad about a relationship that didn't go the way he wanted it to, he's fucking crazy. Like, I'm just saying, he's fucking crazy. Like, there's no reason for you to do that. Now, everybody gets in relationships. I mean, let's just be real here. Everybody gets in relationships and gets mad. I mean, everybody gets mad. Her and I have argued, a million times, and we get into a knockdown, drag out.
Not really.
kidding.
Knockdown,
Yeah. I mean, it'd actually be the other way around. She'd probably hit me.
I would not stop
like
it.
that would
It's
be
not
it.
true.
But I'm saying, like, that's normal to get into an argument or, or whatever. And then, like I said, even if you break up, those are always heated. Everybody gets heated about that. But there becomes a time where you're like, I mean, I think most of us have had breakups where we're just like, okay, it's fucking over. You know what I mean? It's just, and that's fine. I'm going to let it go. It's the problem is the people that don't let it go is what's really worrisome.
And that's the problem. And then even if you are able to get a restraining order against this person, if they're that crazy,
yeah,
a piece of paper doesn't matter to them. It's
No.
hard to feel safe when you have someone like that who you feel is a threat.
Right. I think you also, there's, and I've seen some situations where women, though, have like gone over and above and press stalking. See, there's women also that make it bad for the people that are really getting hit.
Right.
That'll like
Yeah.
say, this guy's stalking me, and they're really not, I do think there's a lot of men, though, that have a real problem with this, and they don't know when to just say, look, it's over.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't want to be with me, or I went out with her a few times and she doesn't like me, or whatever it is. Just like, dude, guys, sometimes they don't like you. It is what it is. And I mean, like,
It's not that into you.
It's not that into you. Like, you can just walk on. I mean, you can meet somebody else, and well, maybe not if you're that fucking crazy. You can't. I mean, but I mean, we were listening to Bill Maher last night, and then he was interviewing Matt Gaetz, and they were talking about this epidemic of loneliness in the country, and I think that probably has some part to do it where, like, especially it affects men is what I've read the most. So you have all these guys that are really like lonely and angry about it, and they don't know what they would do, so they just become obsessive over some girl they've known a very short period of time.
Right.
And it's and I've seen this in the younger generation a lot. Not people our age, that people like 20 years younger that because they live in the social media world, right? And they don't get to know each other, like
Right.
they meet each other on Facebook or whatever, and then they're are automatically in some kind of relationship that's serious, but I mean, or like after like meeting them one time, it's not the same kind of like dating patterns that those of us that are probably over 35 have gone through.
And also, this generation is not being used to. They're not used to being told no. They think they should have everything they want. There's this mindset, and so being told no is just it's out of the question for them. That can't happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's right. That's why then you see like these guys that just go, not to say this has always happened in the past. I mean, I was a prosecutor starting back in 2007, and the same things. I'm sure people 20 years before me, it's always been guys that are going to stalk women, that are going to kill women, that are going to be obsessive over women. It's just the way it's, it's human society since the beginning, pretty much. That's what it is. So, but I think it's gotten worse because of all these things, and just the access to new people that you have on social media that you didn't have before.
And dating apps, and you can just swipe a couple of times, and all of a sudden you're meeting up with someone that you don't know at all.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, so I think that's probably, it's a big problem with it. There's I don't know how to, like I said, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a sociologist. I don't know what it is to do, especially to young men, to get them to chill the fuck out. I don't know, but I mean, there's something that there needs to be something that we do to work on this, because I think we're just going to keep seeing, poor ladies like the one that happened today.
Right.
And she, I think, how old was she, like 29 or something?
Yeah, young. I mean, so sad.
Yeah, young lady.
Rest of her life in front of her,
I mean, and this asshole comes in there and he's obsessive, and then he obviously kills her. So it's just, but I mean, we're not, and then just the example that you gave with the people in Brandon recently.
Yeah.
There's just a million, we all have tons of examples of this, back to, I remember years ago, the case about Heather Spencer.
That case was it just destroyed me. I mean, it was so sad. And years later, it's still just as sad. I mean, beautiful, beautiful girl, had everything going for her.
Yeah.
And just could not get away from this guy that was no good.
Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. I mean, it
And
couldn't.
drugs, I think drugs played a big part in that one
And
as
I knew
well.
him real well. You know, I was friends with his sister, and you know, I knew that family, and they were a good family, like good
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So it was
I think his
amazing.
uncle was a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. His uncle's a special circuit judge now. He's a good guy. They're a good family. I just, you know, sometimes, you know, I think he had a steroid abuse problem and just got obsessive with her. And, you know, I mean, because prior to that, I remember that case very well because that's right when I started the DA's office. And he had beat her with a rubber mallet before he killed
Yeah,
her. This was
yeah.
something
And this
before
time he had
killed her.
just gotten out of jail or
Yeah.
rehab or somewhere. He had just gotten out of treatment or jail. And, but I mean, I know the scene, if you read about the scene of that crime, it's
Yeah.
gruesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was terrible, and but I mean, and that is just like one. There's so many of them that this is
Mhm.
just something that keeps on happening, and it's something just I don't know. It seems like innate with human beings, especially men, to do these kinds. And then also the women though, because I mean, it's kind of a two-way street, not two-way street in terms of they deserve to get beat, but in terms of like you've got this abusive guy. Like, how do women know that this person isn't good? Like, why? You know, because the problem is they keep coming back or they keep staying after, you know, and it's not like, you know, where I can sit there and say, you know, hey, if I got my ass beat by someone I was dating, hasta la vista. Like,
I
this
think
is
with
gone, this
women,
is
like,
over, you
we're
know. Like,
such emotional we have such
yeah.
emotional attachments to people that I think a lot of times women only remember the good. You know, they try to forget the bad, and if the good outweighs the bad, if it's majority good, then you want to focus on that. I think with women a lot of the time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know though. I mean, when someone is just beating the shit out of you though, you know what I mean? Like, that's so bad. That's not a normal relationship. That's not a normal thing,
No,
you
it's
know. I
not. It's
mean,
definitely not normal.
it's just, you know, I don't, I mean, and somebody's like causing physical injuries to you, you know, I guess it'd be different. Like maybe there was a one time something happened and you got, I don't know, shaking each other or something like that. But like, there's just like physical injuries to someone. And then like, just to be like, oh, well, you know, maybe it's going to be good. I mean, I see women do this all the time or have, and I'm not trying to blame them. I just wonder why that is, like, why they just don't walk away. And what can we do to help them walk away at that point, you know?
I think so many women like that. They want to fix it. They want to fix the man, fix the problem.
Well,
And
there's no fixing him. Trust me, in my experience, there's the two ways out or the cemetery or leaving. And that's it. I mean, there's just not a fix. There's not
and
fixing
sometimes
these
that
guys.
doesn't get you out.
No.
You know.
Yeah, even when you
look at
leave,
some of
look
these
this
cases.
lady, well, lady
Yeah.
today, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least you got a fighting chance because if you stay, you don't. When you stay, you're dead. I mean, you're eventually dead. And so, I've seen it happen too many times. And so, you know, I think that's really your only option to stay. If you to live is to leave. It's not, you know, you don't. There's not a third option. He gets better. I think everybody needs to like flesh out that headgear on that one. He doesn't get better. Like it doesn't. That does not work. So, you know, I just hope that there's something. And again, I don't know. This is a government solution. You know, talk about you guys on the conservative side.
Do we make the sentences stronger? Do we make
I don't know if it's
punishments
gonna-
harsher?
I don't know if it deters. You know, I don't know if it is a deterrence. You know, that's a thing. I think it's an emotional thing, and
Well, like right now, I mean, the judge did kind of throw the book at the Todd.
Yeah.
And I mean, he can't hurt her anymore because he's in jail for a very long time.
Yeah, he got like 17 years. He'll serve half of that. So.
I mean, so for the foreseeable future, he can't lay a hand on her.
Right. No,
even though she wanted him to come home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
But I mean, I guess the state stepped in there and said, no, this was bad enough. We're not going to allow this to happen. And so maybe that's what we need more of, judges who are just fed up. And
yeah, but do you think somebody, okay, and I used to give this example with other cases that were not domestic violence, but we'll use it since we're talking about that. Do you think somebody that's beating the shit out of their wife or their girlfriend says, you know what, that judge in Rankin County just hammered that guy, I'm going to stop? I don't think they do that. You know, I don't think it's that kind of crime. Now, I think like I'll give you an example when I think that does work. Like I know a lot of when we were in Hinds County prosecuting there, a lot of the criminals, I had friends in Madison County were prosecutors and officers, and they knew not to cross County Line Road because if they did, they were gonna get ass fucked. I mean, like they knew that, like in Hinds County, they were better off, like dealing with what was going on there because it'd be lighter on them. So they knew not to like when they would organize a drug deal, like they would have it on the Hinds County line. You know, they were meeting somebody, like they didn't want to do it in Madison County. They didn't want to cross the river and go to Rankin County because they knew out there. Dope crimes and stuff like that, they're going to get messed up, which they do. Which I think so. I think that's been an effective deterrent in that regard.
Do you think like with this, it's so emotionally charged that you probably aren't stopping to think that, hey, I'm in a county where they're gonna be hard on me.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like Billy Bob, watching the local news, and he sees that Todd Martis gets 17 years, but he's beating, his girlfriend and her wife, Sally, and just whipping her, right? And like,
Maybe we need to make it harder in the first offense.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's, that's an option. That's an option. I just don't think like they're thinking about that with that kind of crime, because it's so, that's why then it evolves into like a manslaughter.
Or if there are no kids involved, can you not put like a more permanent no contact order in place?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the laws are on that, but I don't know if it's judge's discretion or.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of your approach, I'm sure easily you could write that in the law where like, okay, well, these people are not to have any contact for 10 years, and you're on supervised probation for 5 years, and you're on unsupervised probation for another 5 years. I've seen that before. And then during those 10 years, you can't have any contact with this victim.
And actually check up on them. Actually make sure they're not doing that once they leave the courtroom.
Yeah, I mean,
who's checking up on these couples to make sure they're not in contact?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of the duty of the criminal justice system, and the prosecutors and the police. It's like, I remember I felt this kind of heavy on me when I was doing it. Like I felt like what was going to happen to these women, if like, because especially the ones that came in and would want to drop the charges against Billy Bob,
Yeah.
and because I would have like conversations like I'm having with you about it, and talking about like, this is just, you cannot do this, because he's set you on fire, like that's, I mean, like we can't do this. And then I would say, I'm not doing this just for you. I'm doing it for you, but I'm also doing it for the citizens of Mississippi to protect them from, the next girl from this guy, because that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
There's gonna be a next girl, and that's the problem. So, I think prosecutors and cops already do feel like a heavy burden with this because they know what's going to happen. So, I mean, I think, you could give them easier tools to monitor it, because they're already having to deal with it.
Yeah, I think that, especially if it's like a couple that had lived together. I mean, it's not that difficult to have someone check up,
right,
and making sure they're not living together after the court date. I think that would be something that, and let's just get into the habit and the process of prosecuting that when people violate the no contact orders.
Yeah, start revoking them on that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I think that'd be great, So, but anyway, I mean, so that it's the message of this topic is obviously, man, if he's
as old as time.
If he's beating your ass, get out. Just leave. Call somebody. Call a family member. Call the police. Call a friend or whoever you got to talk to, because it's not. I could give you a million examples of times when it just ends in the only one way, the wrong way, and that results in someone's death. And unfortunately, that's what happened to this woman today. And she apparently had gotten out, and still it did. So that's horrible. But anyway,
very, very sad.
Yep. Well, we're gonna move along to what?
Yeah. You want to talk about the voting rights of Mississippians, or what do you want to talk about?
Well, I had the ICE raids up first earlier. So this is your topic. You sent it to me. So
I did. Well, I mean, I guess you saw. Did you see the press conference they did in Chicago, talking about how ICE had raided their public schools, and this kind of set the country on fire?
Yeah.
They made remarks that they would not work with them, that they would not allow them into the schools, that they would not let them have any information about the children, basically saying they're going to defy what the laws are.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, it was not even ICE, that was at the school. It was something completely different. They weren't there for illegal immigrants. It was the Secret Service there on another issue.
Right.
And so it kind of got blown out of proportion. And now we've set the world on fire. California is not on fire anymore, literally.
Yeah, it's on fire. Right. Okay.
But they're over there talking about how, this is going to happen. This is what's happening next. And I definitely don't think that is the plan. I think this has brought on a lot of fear mongering. And, I was talking to some friends of mine earlier who made the comment that there are a lot of sex trafficked children who are actually in schools. And so having ICE come in and even just look into who they are, where they're staying, who their family is, because we don't think that kids who are being trafficked are actually going to school, but they are.
Yeah.
In some situations, and that's scary. So to tell ICE they can't come into a school or they can't come investigate anything, they very well could be aiding and abetting sex traffickers.
Yeah, well, the way I want to talk about the human trafficking is like the biggest sham that
I don't think it's a sham at all.
it's to me it's a total sham. It's been used as the topic du jour by the Christian right, and it's like the prosecutors around the entire state even make a joke about it. It's like because most of the time it is somebody that is a sex worker. It's not like the movie
Well,
Rambo, like the latest Rambo that came
no,
out a
no,
few
no,
years
no,
ago.
no, I understand
But
that, but
this
a lot
sex
of times,
trafficking thing to me is just an absolute. I mean, the way they've blown it up and
yeah.
turned, it's not the pervasive
Well,
problem.
people don't understand sex trafficking is not seeing someone at Walmart that's a foreigner who's going to swipe your kid from you as you're walking to the car.
Mhm.
That's not what's going to happen. It's going to be usually an adult, someone they've met online who's going to groom them, basically gain their trust. It's usually kids in troubled homes who end up running away and basically becoming a sex worker, like you said, a prostitute, or being pimped out.
But the majority of prostitutes are not trafficked people, though. That's the thing. I think that that people are missing out of this, where it's become too much of this overblown issue. I'm not saying it doesn't happen; it happens. I'm not. That's not. But it's become this overblown issue that I think the Christian right has taken a hold of and made it be like everybody's getting trafficked. No, that's not true. We've had sex workers. It's as old as time. I mean, and but the new thing to do is like everybody's getting trafficked. And like that's not true. And I've had so many conversations with prosecutors, law enforcement that just laugh and scoff at this.
Well, I mean, it is happening though. We look, especially since the fentanyl crisis has come into play. I mean, that's used a lot of times, and it does. It is. I mean, it is happening. And like I said, maybe it's not the way that it's portrayed.
Yeah.
But I think when it involves minors, I think that's where the biggest concern is because they just don't have they're tricked.
Right.
I think that's why we think of them as trafficked.
Well, I mean, I think if a child is working in sex, that's a problem. Either whether you want to call it traffic or slavery or whatever it is. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, if they're a minor involved in sex work, I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not. The majority of this is not human trafficking. I mean, I've seen so many. I wish I had a list of these cases of friends of mine of like. They'll not ever say their names, but they just joke about how ridiculous. I used to have friends that now they don't work at the attorney general's office anymore, so I can say this, who just laughed at it. Like that the AG's office had this, human trafficking initiative. None of these people were getting trafficked. Like it was a big joke to them, and these are like career prosecutors. I mean I just feel like it's the term du jour, and it's not, not that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that, but it's not the it's not the problem that
I think as time goes by,
folks have made it out to be. So.
I think it's become more and more frequent.
Yeah,
as time has gone by, for sure. But so what do you think about ICE being able to come into the schools?
No, I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. I don't know what. So they're going to pull like undocumented children out of school. Is that the plan? I guess.
No, I don't think that was ever the plan. I think that's what this whole ordeal in Chicago has made people believe is the plan. I don't think that that's the plan at all. I think that the plan is let's find the criminals, and we saw what Trump did with Colombia over the weekend.
Yeah.
So you're going to take your criminals back, and if you don't, we're going to make sure.
But who are the criminals though? Which ones? I mean, I agree with him. I agree with him
the
on
ones that
that
have come over illegally from Colombia that are.
No. I mean, I'm with him on doing that. Like, I had no problem with that at all.
I mean, that's the
But
plan.
what does that have to do with the schools, though? I mean, the criminals at the school.
No, that's what I'm saying. The schools this wasn't on the rate. This wasn't part of this wasn't the plan.
Right.
This wasn't on the radar.
Okay.
And so this is more of, I feel like, the left fear mongering and saying, "Oh, Donald Trump's back in office, and now our schools are about to be raided."
Oh, so have any schools actually gotten raided?
No.
He's only been president a week, so
No,
I don't know.
They have not. There have been no schools raided. I don't see that happening.
Well, I mean, if there hasn't, I didn't know. I haven't looked at. You were telling me. I thought a school got raided. Nobody got raided yet.
No, but they said they did.
Okay.
They said they did, and it turned out that they've come back now and backtracked.
Oh, okay.
This is coming
Well, I
out
mean,
of
as long as they're not
Chicago.
getting raided, I mean, then I don't have a problem with. I mean, I don't think they should raid schools. If that was your question.
Well, yeah. Well, Trump did put out a statement or an executive order, something saying that schools and churches and I guess certain places like that are not off limits.
Right.
And so I think that maybe started the whole.
Oh, I think I read a little bit about that part.
Yeah.
Thing. I mean, yeah, I don't think we should raid churches or schools.
I think we have much more to be concerned with
Yeah.
before we start that process.
I mean, I'm with him insofar as getting all the criminals and sending them back, just like what he did with Colombia this weekend. I think that's perfectly legitimate. As I said, I think before, like last week, I'm not for sending people that are working back, though. The farm labor, I'm not for that. I know a lot of people are, and that's fine. You got to take whatever position. I mean, they are still breaking the law, and I get that argument.
There are still criminals.
Yeah.
I mean, they came here. The first thing they did getting here was breaking the law.
Right. I just disagree on sending those ones back. I think that if we did that, we're going to have no farm labor and not a lot of other, because Americans just won't, for some reason, won't do those jobs. I mean, I'm not going to do that. Are you going to go work in the farm? I didn't think you were. Okay. Nobody listening on Facebook is working in the farm.
Like bugs and dirt and.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not working in the San Joaquin Valley or whatever it is. Like, I'm not doing that. And the Mexicans seem to go do that, and they're 50% of U.S. farm labor. They were doing an interview of a bunch of the farmers not long ago saying that we can't get Americans to take these jobs. We've tried. So,
do you think maybe it's because they want to pay Americans what they are able to pay Mexicans?
Well, I'm sure that's part of it.
I mean, paid an American for a day's work, a long day's work like that in a farm, what they should deserve for that, it might be different, but as long as you can pay a Mexican half of what you would have to pay an American, why would they want to pay an American?
Well, then, when you do pay the U.S. person, which I'm fine with, your grocery prices go up a little bit then too, right? I mean, that you're already complaining about. Because the way it works, the farmer's got to pay more. That goes down the line. It's going to cost you a lot more at the grocery store. That's why we make our iPhones in China. Now, look, I love Made in America, but everybody just needs to get ready for, we do all that stuff here, we're all going to be paying a lot more money. That's just part of the deal. That's why we started sending to China in the first place. That's why the Mexicans are here. I mean, it sounds terrible, but
that's why Temu and Shein and these.
Yeah, the Mexicans
buy stuff for so cheap.
The Mexicans are here, and it sounds horrible, but just being a realist, I mean, they work cheap for cheap, and and there's moral implications with that too, and I get it. But if we're being real about it, we get lower cost things because Mexicans are willing to do the jobs for cheaper, just like the Chinese are making the stuff cheaper than Americans would make it, so on and so forth. So it just depends on what you're ready to trade. Now, look, if we're just gonna make everything in America and we're all willing to pay more for everything, I'm actually fine with that. I don't know that the public is fine with that.
Well, as prices go up, the cost of living, you'll have to be raises.
Everything's gonna cost more. So.
Well, I think that it's not the focus. Schools are not the focus. Could they become the focus if they get a really great department out there who gets rid of all the criminals and they want to continue down that path of getting rid of every single illegal alien? And we can say that again now. Illegal alien. Maybe, possibly. I don't know how I feel about the school thing. I think that's a horrible thing for a child to have to experience. And I think that's a horrible thing for even classmates to have to experience is to see their friends being pulled out of a school and then never coming back.
Yeah.
So I think that would have to be extreme.
I think the church and the schools are pretty extreme, but
look,
it seems like Trump's doing the right things in terms of getting these criminals right now. The ones that have committed, I say criminals, the ones that have committed criminal offenses.
Right.
I don't know how anybody could be against that, getting rid of people that have committed criminal offenses. But he's doing that. So if he stays on that path, I'm fine with it. We get to the school raids and the church raids, I'll have something else to say, I guess. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, this weekend, even I thought he did a great job in California. He went over there and advocated for those people who are ready to clean up their land where their house is burned and get ready to rebuild, and permits can take 18 months to even get back on your land, your property, sometimes years. And he went over there and fought for those people, and then went to North Carolina and met with the hurricane victims. And I just wonder when the man sleeps.
Yeah.
Because when he's not out there with somebody, he's tweeting or truth socialing something.
Right.
So, when does he sleep?
I don't know. Well, we've got another topic, which it's close to home, is one that I've actually been pretty passionate about, and what's going on. It's about re-enfranchising convicted felon voters. Of course, now what happened today is the United States Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals based in New Orleans of a Mississippi case to reenfranchise convicted felons their voting rights in Mississippi, because Mississippi is one of a few states that takes away your right to vote if you're convicted of certain felonies. I think it's like 13. I can't remember all. Have you looked that up?
Why did I think it was 8?
It's something like, it's something like that. It's things like murder, which we all get, robbery, but there's lower level crimes like theft, larceny, forgery. They're on this list. Basically, what they were was part of the 1890 Constitution in an attempt to disenfranchise newly enfranchised black voters. Was kind of the intent of this. It had discriminatory intent at the beginning of it. So there's been efforts in the legislature to get rid of it. Last year there was a big one, and then that ended up getting shot down.
Well, I think a lot of the super conservative legislators have a problem voting for this until we amend the Mississippi Constitution, because it's clear in our state's constitution that this is not what they wanted when they wrote this document. A person who has been convicted, they call them disenfranchising. They can actually get their voting rights back if they receive a governor's pardon or win permission from 2/3 of the state house and senate.
It's quite a hurdle, though. That's quite a hurdle to get. Yeah, 2/3 of the legislature.
It's only happened for a few people.
Right. I mean, so this is not going to happen. I mean, this case that was brought was on behalf of a man that stole an appliance decades ago. This case that we're dealing with here, and he lost his voting rights for stealing an appliance, which is, to me, just absolute insanity. And you know what really made me mad when I saw this afternoon? If we talking about this, Tate Reeves goes on Facebook and cheers it on, like, we don't, and he uses the whole panders and says, "Oh well, we don't take felons voting in Mississippi murder and
There's
robbery."
23 disenfranchised.
Is that what it is? Yeah, he said so Reeves says. Let me look here.
So voter fraud, murder, rape, robbery, theft, carjacking, arson, obtaining money or goods under false pretense, perjury, forgery, embezzlement, bigamy, armed robbery, extortion, larceny, felony bad check, felony shoplifting, receiving stolen goods, robbery, timber larceny. Okay. Unlawful taking of motor vehicle, statutory rape, larceny under lease or rental agreement.
So basically, let me look at this list right here. You got it up here. Okay. Okay. Now, I think we all can agree with murder, right? Rape, robbery. That's fine.
Almost 10% of Mississippians
are
disenfranchised.
And 58% of them are black too, by the way.
Well, see, I don't know. Why do we have to throw race into this?
That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because it was written for a discriminatory purpose. Like, that's why it was in the Constitution.
How so?
Because they were trying to disenfranchise newly enfranchised black voters at the time they wrote the 1890 Constitution. The 1890 Constitution is basically a racist piece of crap. I mean, the whole thing
my goodness, why don't you just follow the law?
So you're
black or white, follow the law.
The law that was written for a discriminatory purpose?
How was it written for a discriminatory purpose?
It was intended to disenfranchise black voters that had just been given the right to vote.
Okay, then tell them to follow the law. Tell them to break the law.
It was deliberately written to get them.
I don't understand how. I feel like I disagree with you here, because I feel like a ton of felony bad check and felony shoplifting and receiving stolen goods. I mean, timber. I don't know about people that deal with timber. These are some white people things too.
It was specifically, and there's actually documents at the time that they wrote this that says they were trying to do that. The people that wrote the part of the Constitution were admitted to doing this.
You look at this list. You've been a prosecutor. You're a defense attorney. Do you think this list is more black people that get arrested for these crimes? I guess first of all, in Mississippi, there's more black people arrested in general.
I don't know what the stats are on that. Maybe. I mean,
I guess maybe it seems that way. I live close to Jackson, so I guess
I don't know what the stats are.
But I don't see this list being targeting black people. I just don't.
When they wrote the 1890 Constitution and this specific section, they said they were doing it for that reason.
Okay, well, so for us to change it, then someone needs to amend the Constitution, the Mississippi Constitution,
or the legislature can pass something to fix this. I mean, they can do that.
They
were going to do it, but it got stopped.
Well, I think a lot of people have a problem with voting for something that goes against the Constitution, because
even if the Constitution had a discriminatory, explicit one that they said that they had.
Okay, even if it was discriminatory back then, I don't see this being discriminatory today.
It's not okay. It's not discriminatory today.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that a lot of the embezzlement is the white people that embezzle.
I mean, do you have the stats on that? Well, I'm just asking. I mean,
No,
you're saying, how do you know
I
that?
don't.
Well, how do you know
Well,
that,
I mean,
though?
all these big embezzlement cases around here have been white people.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but how do you know? You can't just say that
Yeah,
and you don't know it. I mean, if it's true, that's one thing, but I mean,
I think I don't see this. It doesn't look that way to me. Maybe it was when they wrote it. Maybe there's proof of that. I don't know. Looking
no,
at this
there
right
is.
now,
I mean, there is proof when they wrote it. I mean, that's what they were trying to do.
well,
They said
I
it.
mean, where did you see that? Where's
There's
the-
plenty. I mean, I don't have it up front of me right now, but I'll show it to you later. But I mean, there's plenty of proof of it. I mean, that they did that. The whole 1890 Constitution was written in a discriminatory manner. That's why we need a constitutional convention anyway. But that's been needed for some time. But they could fix this. The legislature could have. If you look at it right now, we're one of only 11 states that even does this crap. I mean, and it's time for it to go away. Now, I'm not saying, look, you convicted of murder, fine, you don't need to go vote again. That's not my problem. But
I think
receiving,
that's what Tate Reeves was saying.
no, he was cheering the
Well,
whole dang. He was
well,
pandering, totally pandering. He was like, "Oh yeah, look, no, nothing felons can vote. Yuck, yuck, yuck." That's what he was doing.
He literally said though, said murder.
It was his all, and these as other felons. If you look at the post, and I mean, it says we're one of 11 here. Yeah, done, and there's no reason for it not to be done.
Well, then do it. Change the law.
Well, I can't do that. I'm not elected, so I can't put this up. But I mean, they almost had it done last year, and we're getting close to it, and it didn't happen. But but it's
I just don't see this. It just doesn't look like. I mean, I guess maybe back in those
yeah.
days.
See, here's
I
a
guess,
part of the when they quotes from 1890 Constitution in the Constitutional Convention, delegates admitted the right to vote for people convicted of felonies. These felonies, as you listed, that they said in their quotes thought to be black crimes. So I mean,
okay,
it was written for a discriminatory
But
purpose.
in that time, weren't pretty much a lot of the most of crimes black crimes because they arrested black people way before they would white people because it's just the time.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they arrested a lot of black people unfairly at that time. Yeah, I mean, that was after Reconstruction when they wrote that, so I'm sure they did. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they arrested a lot of black people unjustly, at that time when they did that. So
I was trying to find if I could actually see what the embezzlement rates were to see.
yeah, I don't think it's going to break that down by race, but so I mean, the thing is, there's no that it was written for that. Just enfranchise black people, and all we can do is we can change it, and we should do that now. We shouldn't celebrate it like Governor Reeves was doing. This is actually a stain on the state that we don't try to fix this. If you're convicted of receiving stolen, everybody needs to sit back and listen to this, Lindsay. Sit back and has anybody done anything a little bit bad when it relates to a theft or a larceny? I'm not saying I have, I've never stolen anything. Okay, but we know people that have forged a check. That's forgeries on the list, right? People that have received instead.
Yeah, but for it to be a felony forgery, it would have to be a significant amount, right?
I can't remember what the amount on the forgery is, but or receiving stolen goods, I think it's like $1,000 now, or the amount of the property, whatever. So let's say somebody sold you an iPhone or whatever, and it's a stolen good. So whatever it is, I mean, these are crimes that people you don't never get to vote again after you've served your debt to society, whatever that is. You don't never get to vote again now because you got a stolen iPhone or a refrigerator. I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
Well,
Yeah,
we know this. I mean, we know that it's gotten out of hand. A lot of people in the justice system, they don't want to make the person better anymore. They don't want to rehabilitate them. It's about throwing the book at them.
Yeah, I mean, this state is really bad about that too. We have this is many things, and this is some tangent I can go off on because of that. We don't care about we don't rehabilitate anyone. That is not the goal of the criminal justice system or the Department of Corrections. That is not the goal. It is to look tough. What the criminal justice system, first thing they're going to do is they're going to give you a $5 million bond, which is insane. I know people cheer when this happens if you steal a car. I saw that the other day. That's what they do because they want to look tough. Like everybody's like, I look tough on crime. Now,
Well,
there's
I also think it depends on what county you're in and
yeah,
what,
oh, absolutely depends on what county. Like, but they don't ever like now. If we're not talking about murders or rapes or
No, well, that now though it does talk about those.
Well,
Those
no.
are some of them.
What?
The disenfranchised.
Yeah, no, but I'm not talking about and I agree with you not getting your voting rights if you kill somebody, rape somebody, or whatever. I'm talking about if you had a stolen iPhone, or a refrigerator. I don't think you should be banned from voting because the point is if you're convicted, okay, of a low level crime, like again receiving a stolen refrigerator or an iPhone, and you have a felony for it or whatever what happens, and you try to go back in society. Part of being back.
But do you think those people should be able to vote in jail?
No, absolutely not. You go back into society once you're released from prison. Let's say you don't, where you just get a felony, you don't go to jail, whatever it is, right? You get probation, but you still get a felony. You need to be reindoctrinated in society, and part of being in society is being able to vote. And you shouldn't be just banned from voting or participating in the political system because you had a stolen iPhone at one time in your life.
You know what I think is the bigger problem for me is especially. Well, I won't say especially women. I'm thinking along the lines because I'm a woman and I'm a mom, so I'm thinking along the lines of moms and women. But a lot of times, even if it's like a drug crime, a felony drug crime when you're young, but then you have such a hard time, even if you want to go to college, even getting into college, or even once you get out, if you do get to college, you get a degree, even finding a job where you don't have to disclose that information,
right?
And you're automatically blacklisted. And that makes it so much more difficult to become a member of society because you're constantly put into that boat. You can't do better for yourself. You can't, and then you just fall back into old habits because you feel helpless.
Well, I mean, again, that's, I know that's a different discussion. It's kind of tangentially related to this, but
that bothers me more than the voting.
Yeah, the war on drugs it's a stupid way to call it.
Not even if it's not drugs, even if it's a stolen iPhone.
Yeah, right.
If there's a felony, you have to disclose that you have a felony on your record, and it could stop you from being able to get a job or get into a good school program, a good college, and then you can't do better, even if you have been rehabilitated, you have learned your lesson. You can't do better for yourself. You can't get out of that hole. And I think you feel hopeless.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just create more crime from that and less productive citizens. But
because what if you're a mom
we look
and
tough,
take care of your kids?
But we look tough, and then, we need to focus our toughness on crime on things that are going to make people safe. That's the point of the criminal justice system.
So in other words, on Jody and Chockway.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. I'm glad you brought that up. The reason, okay, I'll say it like this. Jody and Chockway are here and a murder is here. And I'll tell you why. Okay. Because what Jody and Chockway have done has caused a lack of confidence in the criminal justice system. And also in obviously the executive and the mayor's office, but particularly Jody Owens, let's take him. And the criminal justice system does not work unless people have confidence in it that it does work.
Absolutely.
And what he's done has made everybody less safe. So to me, that is worse than somebody killing someone. Also, because he's affected
Rankin County, and
all those
cops in Rankin County will tell you that since the Goon Squad, it's like they don't.
There you go.
People don't respect them.
Yeah.
And it's caused a lot of problems.
Right.
It's hard for them to do their job now because of something they had nothing to do with.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's true. That's made people a lot less safe. It's made police officers less safe.
Right, absolutely.
It's made them a lot less safe. I've said this before. Somebody gets pulled over, or if you're black and you get pulled over by a Rankin County sheriff's deputy, a good guy that's just a sheriff's deputy. You get nervous, and what if everybody gets nervous? What happens then? And it's not the sheriff's deputy's fault. It's just a perception. But here now with Jody Owens, the perception is that Jackson's or Hinds County's criminal justice system is completely corrupt because, well, you know what, kind of is.
Yeah,
and you can't blame people for thinking that.
He did say he could fix
whatever he wanted to.
He wanted to.
So then you put it trickles down. So now you got them to put people in the jury box, and are they going to vote guilty? They don't trust the DA's office. How are they going to do that? So he's made an entire society or community less safe. To me, that's worse than almost any crime you could commit because you affect so many people by that.
Yeah.
So yes. So to put that there, then I'd say like a murder is that would be the worst. And
then I also think back to the fact that there's a telling how many people have died, and that blood should be on their hands anyway because they haven't been tough enough on crime.
Yep.
Not to mention who knows what was in the water people drank around here. Goodness.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of the kind of crimes that Jody and Shockwave Lalama committed are, they should
not be able to vote.
Yeah, they should never be able to vote again, and they should put their
Much
heads.
less run for office, by the way.
Yeah, they should actually put their heads on pikes and their bodies on display on Capitol Street. That would be my solution.
What's sad is that they can still run for office after they've been indicted like this, and there is legislation to change that. This
Yeah, hopefully that'll happen. Yeah, it's definitely a sad state of affairs that they're both still wield any power.
Yeah.
And I understand, innocent until proven guilty and all that stuff.
Yeah, but take a leave of absence. Something
Yeah,
needs to be done. Take a leave of absence. Have someone come in the interim. At least until they figure out how this is going to all play out.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's for sure needs to happen. But but it hasn't happened yet, and we'll see what happens with it. But
we'll see.
but that really does go kind of back to the whole thing. We don't, those are kind of crimes we should put a lot of emphasis on doing. That's what I was saying before, is public corruption, murder, rape,
domestic
violence, right? Those things we need to focus on. Stealing an iPhone or whatever is bad, but you can be rehabilitated from that. A lot of times those are crimes of like economic opportunity or like, being broke or whatever, stupidity. Public corruption and murder, we can't fix those people. Okay, we're not fixing those folks. So I prosecuted a serial killer one time. We ain't fixing him. He's on death row.
Right.
Not fixing that guy. But there's some things that we can fix. Our friends and family that have been convicted of dope crimes, that have been convicted of larceny, forgery, and part of that again to me goes back to restoring their voting rights. Drug crimes I don't think falls into the disenfranchisement, right? I don't think it does. No. But we could do that. And I
guess unless you bought or stole
somebody's drugs. No,
you stole somebody's drugs.
We can't steal because you can't own drugs, so you can't steal it really. So, unless we've got a couple of ways to rehabilitate these folks.
Is that why they left that off because the white people were doing the drugs?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what kind of drugs they were doing in 1890.
I don't know.
I mean, smoking peyote.
That was a joke.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, regardless, they should hopefully. I'm sure the legislature won't pass it because they don't tend to do a lot of things they're supposed to do. So I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, sometimes they do. I mean, we ban porn.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. It's we have a legislative session every year, and we get a lot of fun laws from it, and nothing really happens. It impacts the state. We're still 48, 49.
What? I mean, boys can't go to girls' bathrooms.
Oh God, there we go. The transgenders, right? We're protected from them, but we're still ranked 48, 49th and everything.
Not in education, no.
What are we, 47?
No.
I mean, I'm just saying, we passed all these laws, but we're still like 48, 49th.
No, actually, I think we're 4th when it comes to African American reading rates.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's good news.
Yeah, we've really. Yep. I don't know that we've done a whole lot different. I think everybody else just got a whole lot worse, and we kind of stayed the same. But it made us look better anyway.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe the legislature will pass laws that will make us 43rd in some categories. That would be good. I mean, I would be like, that's improvement.
I mean, we're number 1 in
teen pregnancy.
I think we are. Yeah, you know what else we're number 1 in?
What?
Vaccination rates. You know what else we're number 1 in? Infant mortality.
Okay, well, there you go. Teen pregnancy too, though, right? I'm sure.
I think if we're not, we've dropped to 2 or something.
Got to get our title back. I mean, what are we doing here? Social media is killing the teen pregnancy rate in Mississippi. So. Goodness. Okay, well, anyway, I think we've been on about an hour, and we hit these topics, and we appreciate if anybody listened to this crap that we spewed tonight. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we have a different radio show coming up. Anybody wants to sponsor us and put your name out there that you approve of our message?
Yeah, just let us know. We've got a few people that are on board, right?
Yeah, we've got several on board. We have a few spots left, and so hopefully we'll be starting that up here pretty soon. And again, it's school choice week, so
yep.
Let your legislators know that you are pro school choice. You want to fund students, not systems.
Yeah, let them know. And like I said, you can reach out to Lindsay or I on Facebook or wherever else if you got a
podcast. We have a podcast Facebook page and a podcast YouTube page. Crossing the Aisle. Just search Crossing the Aisle. Yeah. And with us, let us know if you want to work with us and help us continue to get our message out about being able to discuss these serious issues and realize that we really do kind of want the same thing, the best for our state and the best for Mississippians. And sometimes you got to work together to get that done.
Yep. Well, anyway, everybody have a great Monday evening, and we'll see you probably Wednesday or something. I guess we'll try.
Yeah. We'll be back soon.
All right.
Bye.